I couldn't be any more excited right now.
Those hands were filled with poop-stained underwear, which he allegedly smeared on the face of his victim.
Do you realize what percentage of your opening conversations are about bathrooms, Merrill?
Sometimes when you look through the little hole between the stalls, you can see another guy. You should just look him in the eyes the entire time.
I think you have the wrong expectations for what's going to go down here. We're going off the rails here. Maybe football instead.
As always, next year.
Happy National Comic Book Day, everybody. I might have a little stuttered there, but welcome back to the Sandlot Cast, the fantasy podcast, so you don't have to. With us this week, we've got Anthony. What's going on, Ant?
How's it going, bud? In the spirit of comics, my favorite is probably Carnage, but without him, or without Spider-Man, you couldn't have a Carnage, so one of those two.
Sure.
Since you were probably going to ask me.
Yeah, sure. We should definitely do that. And for those of you that actually listen to this podcast, feel free to comment below this on the league page on what your favorite hero is. I think that led to a good discussion last year. Also, we've got our standard sub-host for the week, Nick. What's going on, Nick?
How you guys doing? I had a huge spiel that I was going to do for you guys after you destroyed me for my rating system and my substandard podcasting, whatever you want to call it. But you know what? It's a new day. There's many other people that are out there that are worse than me right now, so I'm going to go ahead and just say, play along. It'd be nice to say, hey guys, thanks for having me back.
Thanks for coming back. I appreciate it.
The Punisher. Bar none, The Punisher.
The Punisher, interesting. That's kind of out of the box right there. I'm a Spider-Man guy, so I know it's lame, but I'm a Spider-Man guy. Anyway, we're coming up on the quarter point of the season here, boys. Do you believe that? We're coming up on week 4, which means after Sunday or after Monday, it's going to be a quarter of the way done.
I can't believe it. I can't believe that I'm still actually somewhat sane right now, because normally I'm like shaking, but it's weird. Next thing you know, it'll be the dreaded week 7, and then we'll be in playoff time.
I think I'm still drunk from the draft. How are we a quarter of the way through the season already?
Yeah. We drank a lot of beer during the draft, but anyway, we're going to do a quick podcast today. We're going to go back to our old school team overviews and try to run through that pretty quick. So first, let's start with some factoids. Anthony, I think you had some league business you wanted to announce here on the podcast.
Are you talking about the mini games here?
Sure, the mini games. Let's do that.
Yeah. So mini games, we have in the season-long standings actually only one upheaval, which was the single highest scoring QB of the week. It is now Andrew Luck, week 3, belonging to Mr. Lovins at 40.3 points. The week 3 minigame winner, again, was Hillers, Colts D, at 19 points. The game itself was the highest scoring DST. This week...
Good old Jaguars.
This week, the minigame winner will be the lowest scoring team. So if you are the poo-poo of the league, you will win $10.
Hey, Andy, congratulations.
My money's on Brad on this one, I think.
Yeah, Brad's looking rough this week. We'll get into that, though. Okay, well, thank you for that, sir. Also, some league news real quick. Let's get into that, and we'll start with the trade that happened last night. It seemed to spark some controversy and some strong thoughts from everybody. So let's get into that. For those of you that are still asleep or were too drunk to remember, Hiller sent Michael Crabtree to Anthony for Bernard Pierce, which in a vacuum looks pretty awful, I will say. But we don't play in a vacuum. So, Anthony, you were obviously part of that trade. Why don't you run through kind of how that went down and what the discussion was?
So, in a nutshell, Hillers calls me in a panic on Sunday, right before the game starts, and he goes, "I will give you Crabtree for Chris Ivory. Let's make it done. If the answer's no, I'm moving on." I thought about it. I thought it was a very fair offer, but I believe in Ivory this year. So I said, no thanks, good luck. The week went on. So because Hiller's situation didn't get any better with that RB2, I said, I'm just going to try and throw him Pierce, see if he gives me a counter offer maybe for Kerry Robinson or for something else. But 2 minutes later, he just accepted it. So I'm all right with it. And I hope it works out for Hillers. I mean, I actually legitimately hope Pierce ends up being maybe the guy in Baltimore, and then everyone who pooped on him today might eat their words a little bit. It's fantasy, and stranger things have happened.
Sure. Nick, I think you had some feelings on it as well.
I'm going to defer to you first. I do have my feelings, but I want to hear your thoughts first.
All right. Well, so I said in a vacuum it looks like a terrible trade, which is why I prompted the immediate response of, is this serious? But in looking at Hiller's situation, and he's in a desperate situation running back wise, whether it's this year or for keepers even. He's kind of hurting for running backs because the Gearhart thing really screwed him, and he's just kind of in a bad way right now. So he ended up getting Talaferro. He had a big bid in on Talaferro and was pretty sure he was going to get him, and then he ends up getting Pierce. So in some way, he kind of ensures himself that Baltimore backfield, which, what I don't like is the price he had to pay for it. But at the same time, I don't know, he's kind of desperate at this point. And so, yeah, I think he paid a little too much for it, but I can understand where he's coming from. I don't like the trade from his end, but I'm not going to crush the guy for it because, again, there is some strategy there, and you can justify it if you actually look at the big picture. It's, again, I don't like the trade for him at all. I think Anthony got way better from that trade, and I think he'll say that. He'll agree with that. But I can see where Hiller is coming from. He's in a situation where he's pretty desperate right now, and he needs some kind of backfield that he can rely on, and he got the Baltimore backfield.
Okay. I have multiple thoughts on this, and I know that, I tried to stay out of this. I saw the trade, and I was like, you know what, this is a bullshit trade, but I'm going to stay out of this. Maybe people know something that I don't, and I clicked accept and said whatever. It took me until like noon to start talking to people, until finally people just kept IMing me and emailing and saying, what's the deal with this? What's the deal with this? Why aren't you mad? I'm like, I'm not mad because I'm really trying not to get angry. But finally I just got to it. It was like, you can't be building for the future in week 3 because what's going to be happening?
Who says he's building for the
Michael Crabtree.
Sorry.
What I'm saying
I won't
is
interrupt you. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, no, you were talking about Crabtree. You were talking about as a keeper. You're the one that brought up the keepers. So I'm nipping that in the bud that you can't be talking about keepers in week 3, especially when you're talking about one of 3 active running backs for a team that he's going to be a keeper. I didn't get any trade offers for Crabtree, and even if I did get trade offers for Crabtree, I can tell you that I would not have. Anthony's known for doing his. What, Anthony?
Oh, it's a sign of Merrill where he's got to quit watching the Giants game. He's got to pay attention.
Leonard Donnell just caught his 3rd touchdown of the night.
Oh my God, that's crazy. All right, but anyway,
that's why I said that, but not at you, Nick.
I have multiple issues with this, and it goes well beyond what the trade actually is, because it works out for Anthony, because Anthony does his, I'm going to send you the bottom of the barrel, I'm going to send you a basement offer and work my way up. Hiller's accepted it. And good job, Anthony, whatever. But this is just another example of Hiller's trading away something, again, a perceived value of trading away crap, or of trading away gold for crap. And it actually now getting to the point where it's not even affecting his teams anymore. You're actually affecting the league. You're making the good teams better, which is making it's harder for the teams that are bad to compete because now they can't compete with the upper echelon teams. And it's making those teams that are right on the cusp of being competitive to even beat the teams that are, it's making that gap so big because it's
the rich get richer is what you're saying.
The rich get richer, and it's like, and Hillers is not gaining anything in these trades that he gets. He's just giving away players and just giving away victories, and it hurts the league. It's not about his team anymore. It affects the league as a whole. He gave Dave a championship last year he gave away, what did he give up? He gave up Brandon Marshall and Danny Amendola for what?
For Victor Cruz, who was probably the best wide receiver keeper available at the time.
And then he didn't.
But again, you can't be making trades in week 6 for keeper values. There's no such thing as a potential keeper at that point, especially when you're trading away someone who's already on that victory lap, getting ready to make that final push. And not only do you give them that one extra piece, but you give them that super piece for such a crappy piece that it just totally blows up the league and it totally hurts it. Well, I know that we don't want to talk about this, but we'll go ahead. That's what hurts me.
I'll let you. Okay.
That's what gets me the most fired up.
I guess my quick counterpoint is, no good team is going to make a trade that doesn't make their team. No team in general is going to make a trade that doesn't make their team better. So I can think of one team that'll do that. All right,
And
but
then
no other. I mean, so I wouldn't make a trade that doesn't help my team, and nobody really should be doing that. So I don't
But he
know.
doesn't, and that's the
Well,
problem that we
here's
have.
what I'll say, Nick. Is okay. So maybe you said Anthony benefits from this a lot, and so maybe Anthony does capitalize on Hiller's desperation or people in times of need. But Anthony and I were talking about this a little bit in that there aren't many teams in this league who initiate trades. There's maybe 3 or 4 teams in this league that will initiate a trade. And so when Hillers gets the time when he wants to trade, it's really hard to get things done. I'll send trades to teams and not hear anything for 2 weeks. It is really, really hard to get people to negotiate trades. Some teams in this league can negotiate trades. So what happens is Hillers gets that brought down to 3 or 4 teams that he can actually work with who are willing to deal with him, and only maybe one of those teams is actually compatible with what he wants. So that's where he's coming from too. So I will say that. So again, is it a bad deal? Yeah, but you can't get on Anthony for taking advantage of it because good on him because he did.
I'm not getting. I'm sorry, I wasn't getting on Anthony about this.
I don't feel like you were.
So here's the thing, Merrill. If you want people to do that, don't podcast because you will hear a lot from people if you don't podcast. So if you don't do your podcast, everyone yells at you because you're not podcasting.
Yeah.
No, or
is Mike?
Or is it just not fun?
Oh, I guess Mike maybe cut out. So why don't we? I mean, I guess we could take over until he joins back in. But do you have anything else? Any other league opinions? Let's change the subject here. Any other league opinions, or do you want to jump into team overviews?
Okay. Let's get into team overviews. That's fine.
All right. So why don't we start with our division because we could be selfish on the podcast, the Apollo Creed division, and I don't know. Let's just start here at the top and we'll go with me. I'm just going top to bottom, guys. So Enzo Bobarman squad. Any kind of broad thoughts other than the trade?
Other than the trade, no. I mean, your team was already it was that trade again. It's to get what you got. You traded, you got a decent piece. That you got just that extra depth to that piece. Your team only got better in this deal, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree. I mean, it'll be kind of a picking game, but that's not a bad problem to have. I think probably my next move is to maybe package 2 of those guys in for a running back that is a suitable replacement for AP. But it just sort of depends on how the season goes before I do that. So, if anyone's interested in that, let me know.
Okay. For whatever it's worth, as good as your team was, why do you think you only put up just 75 points last week? Was it Stafford?
That's a good question.
I guess it was Stafford.
Well, I mean, we're such a quarterback-heavy league. An average quarterback's going to score you between 20 and 25 points, and when a quarterback puts up 2 or 2.6. I mean, it really takes the bulk of your score away. I mean, 25 points is about 20%, right? 1/5 of an average score. So when you lose that, your team, it looks a lot worse than it really is. And I'll also note that my tight end last week went out in the first series, and then my defense gave me -6. So between my quarterback, my tight end, and my defense combined, I got negative points out of it, and that never makes your team look good. But saying that the fact that I put up 75, I think is actually pretty good. You just give all those guys kind of below average scores, and I'm about at 100. So I wasn't too upset with last week, really. I'm just happy to come out with a win after having such a bad showing.
Okay, I'm actually going to go back to what you said real quick about quarterbacks because I've noticed this, and it's fun if you look at the top 5 the top 10 the quarterbacks' performances as a whole. And yeah, you're still missing Breeze and Rodgers from the top. Breeze, Rodgers, and I guess that's it from the top 5 that you would expect to be. But I mean, if you look at it over 3 weeks, and I'm just doing some rough math here, you're looking at about their average, except for Andrew Luck is at 92, so he's averaging almost 30 points a game. 80 points for Peyton. Ryan's at 76, but he had that huge monster game. 73 for Cutler. I mean, you're looking at through 3 games. Oh, I guess that's about 20 points a game, isn't it?
Yeah,
but it feels like quarterback play. I feel like it's quarterback play in general has just been down this year. as a whole.
I think I agree with you. I mean, so Stafford right now is the number 12 quarterback in the league, and he's sitting at 52 points. So you divide that over 3 games, and I mean that's what, like just over, that's 16, 17 points. That's not great.
That's not. I think that they might. Yeah, I wouldn't be worried about them yet. Like I'm not worried about Rodgers, Breeze, Brady, Stafford.
Can you guys hear me? I'm back. Sorry.
Yeah, I guess Nick,
I mean,
you know, this,
like in the bottom, what is that, 15 through 20? That shouldn't be there. That I don't expect to be there at the end of the year. So,
right.
I think it should be rough time right now, but I fully expect these guys to pick it up. So,
the one other thing I'll say is that defenses are fresh. It's still the beginning of the year, and quarterbacks tend to struggle. Like week 1, week 2, year to year. So I think they'll start picking it up. And we're also plagued with kind of an abnormal number of injuries this year to really key star players. When you lose A.J. Green for a game, it really hurts, Andy Dalton. When you lose Brandon Marshall for a game, it's going to hurt Cutler. So it's going to bring that overall score down a little bit.
Okay. Merle, do you have any thoughts on Anthony's team? As far as we've got in the 5 minutes that you've been gone.
Anthony's team? Yeah, I do have thoughts. Sorry, I'm getting there. I'm coming back up. Sorry, guys, having technical difficulties here. I apologize for that. But, wow, you guys started in the same spot I was going to start, so I appreciate that. We discussed the trade. The Week 4 buys, Anthony, I guess, was that a concern of yours? Is that part of the reason you traded, I guess? I don't know.
No, it wasn't part of the reason I traded. It was just an opportunity.
What about Keenan Allen? Are you worried at all about Keenan Allen?
I think this will be the telling week. I mean, he's at Jacksonville. He's got a groin injury. That's never easy to come back from. I mean, a groin's one of those. It's a big muscle, depending, and and I don't know. It's just one of those nagging injuries. So if he does well against Jacksonville, I will not be worried. But I don't think I'm starting him this week.
Okay. So a little concerned, but not giving up or anything. So
yeah, no.
And then the other thing, I mean, I think you're one of the best teams in the league by far. We'll get into how good I think you are in the power rankings, but you still got a great QB. You got at least probably a top 5 running back. You got, I think, a top 5 receiver in Antonio Brown, and a really strong supporting cast around there. So I don't know if there's any moves you really need to make at this point. I think your team's really good. So
all right, who's next?
I have the Dad Dicks next at Dad Dicks at 3-1. You were the first team, Anthony. Is that right? You guys started with that? Okay.
Yep.
Dad Dicks, I have a 3-1, second place in the division here. We've said this is a team that is pretty reliant on the Jimmy Breeze combo there, Nick. The Breeze part of that hasn't been all that great so far this year. What do you think about the Dad Dicks?
Yeah, I think the fact that they're doing so well and Breeze hasn't been doing is what we expect him to do is a good sign. I think that the only problem that they have is at running back 2. That they really don't have that running back 2 / flex player. Running back or flex, actually, now you look at it. They don't have... Yeah, I mean, they're missing RB2 and flex. And wide receiver. Actually, they're missing a lot. Like, I look at it, it's like, oh, they need running back 2. Like, oh, no, they need running back 2 and flex. Oh, no, they need running back 2, flex, and wide receiver 2. Like, and wide receiver 1. Like...
So I agree, man. Like, I look at this team and I say, Niall Davis, that's a fill-in, Sammy Watkins, boomer bust, Terrence Williams, boomer bust. But yet this team still consistently put up 100 every week, 100 points plus. I mean, and when you have a combination like Jimmy Breeze, it just takes one, and now it puts you one touchdown is 12 points on your team, and they hook up a lot, those guys. So I guess either Dad Dicks is as consistent as we think he is, or we're getting fooled because the boom guys are going boom at the same time that there's another bust guy going. I don't know how to stop this team unless you get lucky, and I don't think it's going to happen often.
Yeah, I think he's got a good core obviously with those 2 guys with the Saints, but yeah, I mean you look at the team and you think, wow, how is this that good? But I think that makes Grimes a really good manager at this point. He's been piecing wins to a roster that really doesn't look that great on paper. He's been able to get those points. So I think he's done a great job so far. Nick, I'm with you on running back 2 and flex, like Terrence Williams and Chris Johnson, I think he was depending on being his running back too. You look at his bench, and he's got Terrence West and Stephon Taylor down there. Those aren't guys you really want to play and rely on. So there are some holes in the lineup, but he's really been piecing things together and working the free agent wire, and he's done a great job. So I would think about maybe shopping Jay Cutler. Shopping Jay Cutler to a team that could use a quarterback, because there are teams out there that do believe in Cutler and might want a quarterback. So maybe he can shop Jay Cutler and pick up a flex guy at least, or an RB, maybe a low one.
Maybe
a Hemming, because you could use a quarterback.
Grimes.
That said, let's get into your team, Nick. Iron Pirate Redux is our next team here. You've kind of fixed. We'll go with Anthony. You start out.
All right. So Nick's team, I think he's done a good job on the waiver wire, picking up Bradshaw, Donald Brown, and those guys have looked like they're going to hit it big. And I mean, it's great holes to plug in when you have, I don't know. I mean, he's got a good team. He's got where the heck did he go? Giovanni Bernard, number 1. I mean, that guy's running hard. He's been running hard all season. He's probably going to finish top 3. I think that's a great draft. And then he's hit it with his waivers. I might be a little bit worried about Brady. But there are other quarterbacks on the waiver wire that, as long as the supporting cast is good, that he'll. I mean, you could plug in a guy like, I don't know, like maybe Geno Smith, or maybe why not? Ryan Fitzpatrick, Geno Smith. You can do it on a bad matchup for Brady if Brady continues to struggle, and still probably come out with a win if the rest of your team is that good. And there's, you can only say good things about Cobb, about AJ Green, and I even like Travis Kelce there, and Dwayne Allen. I mean, you could even throw one of those guys in a flex. So as long as you get your RB2 straightened out, I think it's a good team. RB2 and QB.
Okay. What's wrong with my RB2?
Well, I mean, I think that you have. Bradshaw, I like him. Donald Brown, I like him, but how long is it going to last? That's kind of the issue. Is Bradshaw going to be the guy all season, or is he going to get hurt again? I mean, I see the little red cross on his name right now. And Donald Brown, he's doing well, but how long until he gets hurt again? And Pierre Thomas, when Mark Ingram comes back, is Pierre Thomas going to be as much of a contributor as he is right now? So I think it's just a question mark as the season goes on. But right now, you're doing great.
Yeah, sorry guys, I'm having technical difficulties here. I might be going in now. I'm not sure what's going on, but Nick, I mean, I'll agree with you, Anthony. I think Nick's done a great job. Nick, it's weird. We haven't talked about your team a lot, which is weird because you're a pretty active owner and you're pretty big on the message boards, and you've done a great job. I think you're at 3-1, so I don't know why we haven't talked about it, but you really put together a pretty good team. Running back was a concern, but you put together a pretty deep running back core. I mean, your top guy's out this week, but you've got 3 guys in there who they don't kill you to start. So, so good job there, and receivers have never really been a problem for you. So I think, yeah, like you said, if Brady either turns it around or you can obtain a quarterback, I think you're gonna be a force the rest of the season here.
I just to sum up, I think you guys are pretty accurate on what I was saying. And as a Brady owner, I'm not super panicking yet about Brady. I guess we'll see how the Chiefs games goes. If he keeps putting up 15 points, I'm going to be very scared as a Brady owner, because I'm going to be like, I'm just waiting for that other shoe to fall, because it's right on the cusp of being good, right, but it's not bad enough to really want to bench you. If Brady could be on the waivers and I could be playing Brady's numbers and swapping him out with Geno Smith, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and playing the matchups and get the same kind of point production. But with Brady, I don't have to worry about playing the matchups. I'm still going to get the same point production as I would shuffling quarterbacks in and out. And if I know that I'm going to be getting 15 points a game, then so be it. Yeah, I guess.
I agree with
that. He's not the quarterback that I expected him to get 3 weeks into the season.
Right. So, yeah. Well, as we go through the teams, I think you'll see that there are some available. And if some of these guys you have in your depth chart work out, then you might be able to obtain them. So let's get to Hiller's here. Hiller's upside. 1-3 in the division, last place here, and I think this is the hardest division, I think, by far. So, aptly named because the Apollo Creed Rockies were the best Rockies. But anyway, Hiller's at 1-3. We already talked about the trade here. Nick, why don't you get into Hiller's team first for us?
I have nothing to say. I mean, this team is still being competitive because somehow Aaron Rodgers, he's running DeMarco Murray. DeMarco Murray has been on fire this year, and but guess what he's riding? DeMarco Murray and Julius Thomas.
Yep.
And it's really just working out for him. DeMarco Murray last week, I think I saw that he had like 15 yards rushing at the end of the second half. It wasn't 15 yards, but it was something like that. And he was playing with Rams, and that's not going to last. And then by the end of the game, he had 150 yards and 3 touchdowns or something. It was just ridiculous.
Yep.
Yeah, he's riding and good for him. That's his guy. Those are his guys. And once Aaron Rodgers comes back, I think that he won't be one. If Aaron Rodgers is playing at the level Hillers is used to, he's probably 2-2. And once that starts happening, then we'll see. And we'll see how the Cordell Patterson and Bridgewater thing work out for him. But
okay.
This team's, I think, pretty much locked in that they're done for the year at this point.
Wow. Okay. Anthony.
I think Hillers has a tough road ahead of him because he's in the toughest division in the league. His trading away Crabtree really does hurt him on depth. So as the bye weeks start coming, I'm not sure who's going to plug in for some of those guys, especially week 11 where he's got no running backs.
And then 11's rough.
Yeah, and then what I'll say is his 3 starting wide receivers now, I like them all. They do have a lot of upside. But I'm looking at the production. Yeah, the average might be 8 or 9 points, but it's because they had 1 good week and 2 kind of bad weeks.
Yeah.
So they all of the 3 of those guys gotta pick it up before this team starts, competing. So that's all I'll say about him.
Yeah, his team's kind of other than the trade we talked about. We say Crabtree's wide receiver 2, but he was really a wide receiver 1 on this team. I mean, he was his best receiver, and he dealt them for Bernard Pierce. So his receiving core is not great. I think he knows where he's at right now. And if I were Hillers, maybe if he's really looking to fire sale down the road, and you're thinking, I would say Julius Thomas might be a good trade candidate just because we're not sure how long Peyton Manning's going to be around, and this might be his last ride. And if that's the case, then maybe somebody wants to use Julius Thomas for those last few weeks to get to the playoffs. But I know Hillers doesn't like trading away tight ends. He likes trading for tight ends. So
I'll take Julius Thomas.
Yeah.
I'm in the market for a tight end.
Well, you do have Crappy. You have a number 5 running back. Maybe give him Adrian Peterson. That seems to be the going offer for Hillers players.
I'll send it.
That's yeah. All right, next let's get to the Ivan Drago division, guys. Probably the second best division at this point, I would say. We'll start at the top with the Los Chupanibres, who are at 3-1. And I'll go ahead and start with this one, guys. I think they're a strong team up and down. This team is one that I really ripped on pretty hard last week. I'm trying to make JD my nemesis and my rival this year, but he's too freaking good, and I got to start throwing some respect his way because he's put together a pretty solid team up and down here. There's no, you look at the roster, there's no real star power, and I think we said this last year about his team too. There's no real star power on the roster, especially because he traded away Antonio Brown, but it's just solid. I mean, it's just solid up and down. You look at every position, he's got guys, and then you look down at his bench, and he's got guys you're okay plugging in if you need to during the bye week. So, really good job building a deep team. Doesn't have a scary player. Maybe Matt Ryan turns into that guy. Maybe he does. I've never been a big Matt Ryan guy, but he's definitely he's a good fantasy quarterback for sure. But maybe he's the guy that turns into. But if I were JD, I will say the move I would make is if you're in a position where you're doing really well and you're going to make a run at this thing, maybe you deal Bishop Sankey to a team that is in more of a keeper mode. That's maybe a move to look at down the road. But Nick, what do you think here?
At the sake of sounding like a cop-out, I think that you hit the nail on the head that everything is working out well for him so far. Frank Gore is just the guy that is the ageless one. Just no matter how, it's just constantly efficient no matter what he does. Except for last week when he only put up 10 points, but you can expect that every week. Or 1 point, 10 yards, I guess. Yeah, no, I think that he's going to need to make some moves here for bye week replacements, but I think that you hit the nail on the head.
Well, I think it's kind of symbolic that Frank Gore's on this team because he's the kind of player that this team is, right? Like a guy who's not very flashy, but just kind of gets it done, and you're like,
Yeah.
wow, this guy is just really good. Like, what's the deal? So he's kind of the microcosm of this team, I would say. But yeah, Anthony, what do you think?
So everything I said about JD's team last week, I think I'm going to take it back, man. I really crapped on his trade with Rashad Jennings, but all of a sudden he's looking strong. I mean, he ran like crazy last week, and he's running hard this week as we speak right now. So that might really put him over the top for being a team that.
Don't forget Brian Quick, who we also got in that trade.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, I don't think he's a fake 3-1. I think he's a real 3-1. I was gonna say I don't believe in Stephon Ridley. I think they're just running him a lot early because the Patriots have had some easy games.
Ridley?
Stephen Ridley, whatever.
Stephon or Kel. So joke for all
I don't think they've needed Vereen, so they just keep Ridley out there. But he's got Sankey, whose workload is increasing, and he's got Emmanuel Sanders on the bench. So those are both great flex players. So yeah, good on JD. Keep on moving. You're going in the right direction.
Yeah. All right.
Beat Evan a couple of times.
Next team in that division in second place right now, also at 3-1, are the Black Widows. So I guess we'll start with Anthony. We'll start with you here. What do you think of the Black Widows and how things are going?
Oh, I said beat Evan a couple of times, but he's in the other division. Never mind then. Yeah, Mike, I'm worried about you a little bit because, man, 3-1, that's good, but you got Peyton Manning on a week 4 bye, and that could really put you in a 500 position if Charles doesn't end up playing and Marshall doesn't end up playing. It's a lot of question marks. That said, this might be the worst week you have to deal with. So as long as you keep it going forward, you'll be at least in the running for the playoffs.
Okay, Nick.
Yeah, I think that you have, as long as Charles, even if you go 2-0 this week or 0-2 this week, I don't think that you should really worry about it. Just because I think that the way your team's constructed, you can take a 0-2 loss and still go on a decent enough run to be able to salvage it. I think it's just a question of Charles, about how healthy Charles is, and how long this hamstring injury keeps Marshall out.
Are there any moves? Sorry, go ahead.
3-3 is not you can recover from 3-3 pretty easily. It only takes 1 week. It only takes a doubleheader week to do it. Except we're pretty competitive. The top teams are pretty competitive and pretty tightly packed in there. So he's got 2 division rivals that I don't think play each other this week, and both can go 2-0. That might put him in a position where not only does he have to catch up to his division rivals, but also to nick our division because we have some heavy hitters as well. So there's only 2 wild card spots to go around.
Yeah.
All right.
As far as moves, I really don't know what kind of moves you can make. And again, unless you're going to make a trade to Hillers or something, because Sean Green's, a subpar running back that you can probably turn something into.
I don't think Hillers would want Sean Green.
I don't know what you have to trade what you would really try to upgrade. Like, I guess running back 2, you could package Brad Jackson and Reggie Bush to get an upgrade there. How do you feel about Trent Richardson?
I don't love him. I feel like he is a guy that I can plug in a good matchup and get something out of him. But he's been getting 7 to 9 points every week, which with the receivers and with Peyton Manning on my team, that's really all I need from a second running back or from a flex guy. So he's fine. If he gets a touchdown, great. But I don't know. Yeah, not loving it. But yeah, I mean, what I will say is I feel like I've been through the roughest stretch so far. Like I haven't put up 100 points from my star players. I've just had it's been a rough stretch, I feel like, and Peyton Manning's kind of carried me through it. Thank God I traded for him, and it's really nice having that. But I feel like my team's really going to start coming through here in the next several weeks. Week 9 might be rough with my buys, but I really feel like
that's 1 week. That's not bad.
But I feel like if I haven't put up 100 points yet, and I'm at 3-1, I feel like I'm in really good shape because I feel like this is a 100-point every week team that I have, and hopefully it starts paying off. So, All right, Duplex. So Mediocrity is our next team here. And I'll start with just a question for you, Nick, and then you can kind of take it into whatever you want here. But will Andrew Luck finish as the #1 QB in fantasy football this year? Because he is
There's
going
no. There's no reason why he would. Given how bad the Colts look on defense, and they can't stop anyone, and given how consistent Luck looks in throwing the ball, and how good he looks just playing, there's no reason why he can't, especially because he's up to such a big lead over Breeze, Rodgers, Manning. Like, he's up to he got such a fast start that that he can slow down a little bit, and the other guys have got to just put up monster weeks, week in and week out, to be able to catch him. So, yes, I think he could.
Anthony, what do you think of Dave's team here, the defending champ?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think Luck can be that #1 guy, but his team in general is a little bit hurting. Eddie Lacy is his #1 running back, and he's not really producing like one just
He
right
does
now
have
at all.
Starks down there, though, too. Keep in mind. So,
Oh yeah, and Matt Asiata. I mean, so
if Lacy loses that job, I'm saying he's got Starks he can plug in. You know.
no, but Starks is not. It's not like Starks is going to come in and put up 20-point weeks for you. I mean, we know
No,
what
that's a good
Starks
point.
can do, and it's not that impressive. So yeah,
Yeah.
he's got the handcuff, but who cares? So he needs guys to kind of explode. Kelvin Benjamin is probably his best bet in doing that.
Good.
I guess we'll see. I think though that Shoot might have his number, and Merrill, I think you might have his number in most of the head-to-head matches between you guys. So I'm not sure. I despite Andrew Luck, I'm not sure.
Don't see a repeat.
I don't see a repeat.
Yeah, and Torrey Smith is part of that too. Torrey Smith's just been awful this year.
Yeah.
And that's a guy I think he was depending on to be one of his start every week receivers. He has not been good. So he's been having to plug and play flex and receiver guys. He's starting 2 tight ends this week as of right now. So that's sometimes that's a good thing, but really that's a rare situation where you feel good about doing that. But I will say if there is a move that Dave can make, it's maybe to trade Andy Dalton. Again, we get to the quarterback thing. He's got 2 really good quarterbacks. Possibly, he's got one definite top 10, top 5 quarterback, and Dalton might be a top 10 again. So there's another guy who might you might be able to pull a backup quarterback from Nick or whoever needs one to plug in and who can put up some points for you. So, but overall, it's kind of like I don't know if it's like the poor man's JD's, the poor man's Chupanibres, this team right now, I'll say. But I think it's pretty solid up and down, but there's no one you look at and you say, wow, that's someone I'm scared of other than Andrew Luck. So, Assassins, 0-4, bottom of this division here. It's really weird because I will say that I like this team coming into the season. I thought they were going to be pretty good. I thought it was one of Brad's better drafts that he's done, and very few mistakes. But right now at this point, his team is kind of what it is because he's only got $23 left in free agent money, which I noticed today, because he spent $47 this week just so he could field a team in this doubleheader week because he's got a lot of guys. If you look at his bench, look at all those week 4 buys. I mean, it's pretty crazy. And his receivers, I think, have been his weakest point. They've been bad. I mean, Vincent Jackson has been his biggest disappointment. He spent with $31 on him at the draft, so that's someone obviously you're counting on to put up production every week, and he's just been terrible. And Jason Witten also been pretty bad, which is bad because he's got Jordan Cameron on his bench, but Jordan Cameron's hurt. So, the pickup of Alfred Blue was a good one. Way to go, picking up your RB1's handcuff there. But I think if there's a move he can make down the road, I will say maybe if Vincent Jackson turns it around and if Watson doesn't turn it around, Vincent Jackson's the guy you deal for some keepers down the road maybe. Anthony, what do you think?
I mean, that's if VJax turns it around, and without really a solid quarterback, I don't know how he's going to do that.
Right.
Yeah, this might be curtains for Assassins, which is crazy to say in week 3, but you can't go 0-4 and then have all your starting lineup on a bye week. In week 4, this is going to put him at 0-6, and I don't think anyone's come back from 0-6 ever. Hillers came back from 1-5, but not 0-6.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brad, but I mean, what I would do is just stalk the waivers and just try to pick up a couple sneaky $1 picks and hope they pan out. I don't know. Yeah. But don't get rid of your guys like any guy that you think that you're going to keep next season is just not. There's no reason to do that.
Nick, what can the Assassins do here?
Hope to play the Winiers every week.
Winier. The S is silent.
Hope to play the Winiers team every week. Is that better? Make it the possessive.
Yeah. Okay, that works.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. How can you do that with Andre Ellington, Russell Wilson, Zach Stacy? I mean, Hawkins isn't anything. Floyd's not really anything.
Floyd's not anything? I mean, I'll disagree there.
Oh, Michael Floyd. You know what? I thought that was Malcolm Floyd.
Yeah, he's had 12, 1, and 11 his points.
Yeah.
I mean, one bad week so far.
I don't know. I think that, I mean, it's a bad week of buys for him, and I think as far as moves, I don't know. I don't really know what you need. I mean, you don't need a better quarterback, and that's about it. That's the only thing that you're locked in that you don't need, and you don't need a tight end. So anything else is fair game that you can upgrade. Anything that you can package to move around would be the best thing that you can do at this point.
Okay.
You have nothing that has reached its max value.
Yeah. Well, this is the week, right? I mean, if he goes 0-2 this week, it's keeper time, it's fire sale time, and start pillaging this team because
they're done. That's just bad luck. Because I mean, if he had one win, if he had 2 wins, if he had 2 wins coming in, if he was 2-2 at this point, you look at this team and it's like, fine, I'm punching this week, but hey, look at this, I'm at full strength for the rest of the season. Like,
even if you're 1-3 and you go 1-1, you're 2-4, so you're still in it. But to be 0-4, like you said, Anthony, you got basically every one of your starters is on a bye. That's tough. So. All right, let's get into our last division here, the Clubber-Lang division, which should probably be called the Tommy Gunn division because it's terrible and it's the worst. It's an awful division. And Evan, at the top of this division, finds himself in the so far the easiest division again. Lucky him. So the Sex Cannons are at the top here at 3-1. Nick, are you at all worried about Demaryius Thomas?
No. I'm not, because it's what Anthony and I were talking about before while you were offline having technical difficulties, is that quarterback play, if you feel like in general, has just been sporadic first 3 weeks, and in times like you would think that actually kind of affects wide receivers, which in this case, when you have a team like we have Manning who has so many weapons, so many fantasy relevant options, that someone's going to take the hit, and somehow Demaryius Thomas couldn't do it with Welker out. I don't know. I wouldn't worry about it yet.
Okay.
I wouldn't worry about it yet.
All right. Anthony, what do you think of Evan's team here?
It's great. And you know what? Even if Demaryius Thomas doesn't pan out, it almost doesn't matter for Evan, right? I mean, Evan's going to make the playoffs. You could already make that prediction now. So if Demaryius Thomas, I mean, and also I'll tell you that there's no chance Evan keeps Demaryius Thomas again. Even if he were producing, this is a guy that Evan would try to offload for, maybe a keeper, maybe an equivalent style keeper.
Especially if Peyton's done after this year, especially.
I think that's what he means, yeah.
Exactly. So and guess what happens? So let's say Evan's already made the playoffs, right? And what happens in week 13? Josh Gordon comes back. So true. Whatever. Who cares? Evan will be fine.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, sorry. Watching the Giants game on the side. You guys see me looking off to the side here. It's because I've got the football game on. Very professional environment we've got going on here.
Something slightly more entertaining.
Were you watching my tight end getting carted off the field?
Yeah,
that happened again.
No, I was watching him overthrow my receiver, Pierre Thomas. But yeah, I will say I'm a little worried about C.J. Spiller because we just keep waiting for this guy and waiting for this guy and waiting for this guy, and it's just not working. Fred Jackson continues to show that he's as good, if not better, than C.J. Spiller as far as effectiveness in the backfield. I did like his Jerick McKinnon pickup. Again, I'm not sure why I do. I've just got this weird feeling about Jerick McKinnon, especially with the Adrian Peterson mess going on. I don't think Matt Asiata is a long-term answer there. And like you said, Anthony, Josh Gordon coming back. I mean, I didn't even think about it because, like you said, he's basically in the playoffs right now. I mean, unless something crazy happens this week, and we've got these doubleheader weeks. But yeah, I think he's in the playoffs, and then when Josh Gordon comes back, and whoopity-doo for him. I'm not sure the move. I try to go over if I'm looking at this team what move I would make. I'm not really sure what that move is right now, but I would say maybe there's an upgraded tight end he could make because Charles Clay is fine, but again, tight end is just it's so hard to upgrade because there's so few guys that you want to trade for.
And all of them keep getting injured on my team, so
yeah, that's right. So, So yeah, I mean, it's a solid team up and down. What more can we say? Good job, Evan. Let's get to the dregs of this division here, and let's start with Touchdown Jesus, who are 1-3 right now. As we know, went with the Stars and Scrubs as they normally do here, but it's not really working out for them so far. Anthony, why is that?
Underperforming on all of the guys that you really thought that you've never thought twice about for years. Matt Forte has been a rock for years, and now all of a sudden he's not really doing as well as he should be. And again, you look at Forte, you're like, oh, he's averaging 9 points, but it's only because of 1 week. He's been pseudo-busto the previous 2.
So saying Matt Forte's a rock, what kind of rock do you think he is?
Rock solid.
Oh,
like a piece of granite.
Granite. That's a good rock.
Either rock steady.
That's a good rock.
Now, I know he's got Larry Donald
Rock
down on
steady.
the bench, which is very nice, but Gates hasn't been the guy that you expect. Well, I mean, I guess you got 3 data points, and he was not involved in the game last week at all. I don't know.
Nope.
And Kelvin Johnson, if Stafford can't get the ball out, then I don't know, it's not going to Kelvin. And DeAndre I mean, just a lot of inconsistency. How about that?
That's what happens with Stars and Scrubs. I mean, you depend on your stars, and if they're not there, then guess what? You're dependent on Scrubs, and that's not where you want to be. So, Nick, any thoughts on Pritchard's team? Maybe a move he can make here, what he can do? Nick, hello.
Hi.
Oh, did you hear me there? Any thoughts on Pritchard's team? Maybe a move he can make, what he can do?
Well, any team that has better wide receivers than I do, I want them to trade their wide receivers to me. No, I don't know. See, again, I think it's just a question of I mean, Cam Newton's he sat out the first week, so his so I feel like Cam Newton's numbers are kind of a little bit sporadic. And so Cam Newton's only been playing for 2 weeks. Moneyball's, I don't know, not being as efficient as he should be. Matt Forte is not doing. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just the state of the NFL right now, and the way that the plays are going is that you can't change anything. I don't know. I think he's just had bad luck. I wouldn't really change anything. I think it's just bad luck.
Okay, he's kind of in with the strategy, and you got to roll with it. I hear you. Yeah. I mean, I would say maybe if things keep going bad for him, I think Forte is the first guy he can try to deal to a contender. Again, Forte hasn't been very good this year, but at $36, it's not a great keeper value. And maybe he can pull 2 keepers from somebody for Forte. So maybe that's the move to make. But right now I'm kind of with you. I still think this is a pretty good team. I think if Cam Newton comes into form and if Monte Ball starts running the ball better, then things start turning around for him. All right, PBJ is our next team here. I'll say that I don't really have anything new to say here. This season was over week 1. I mean, he just got crushed in week 1. So I guess maybe he could deal Andre Johnson or Doug Martin if there's takers out there for some more keepers. But Brett, I'm sorry, man. I'm not sure what else you can do. This is your time in the box, man. So, Nick, what do you think about PBJ?
I think despite how bad his team looked, he still put up a respectable number last week. And I don't think this team's as bad as it looks. But by no means does that mean that it's good. Does that make sense?
No.
I don't think it's as bad as people thinks it is, because I think it can still be sneaky. Like, it can still spoil a few weeks here and there. But you're right. I don't think it's actually a real threat.
So the question is, if you could have any team in the league, teams would you pick before this team?
Wait, what?
Where would you Like if you could switch to any team in the league and own any team in the league other than yours, how many teams would you go through before you got to pick this team as your team? Like, how many teams would have to be gone before?
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, it's not as bad as we say, but it's not as good as the other teams either, right? So I think that's the thing. It's a little weird.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Carson Palmer getting hurt, RG3 getting hurt. I mean, you had to roll with Flacco. Martin got hurt way too quick. Injuries just decimated this person and this guy. And
Alshon Jeffrey's been banged up.
Larry Fitzgerald's been subpar, and is that because Palmer's out, or is it just because Larry Fitzgerald's just? No, he's not. That's not it. Andre Williams is a throw-in. Justin Hunter, I don't think's been as good as people wanted him to be early on. I think that they expected more from him at this point.
Yep.
and then getting hurt just hurt him. So
Yeah.
I mean, it was like just bad luck. And
Anthony, what do you think? I mean, same thing on Brett's team.
I just
Really,
think it's amazing he got a win. I mean, how did he get that? how does he have a win, but yet Assassins and Winier don't? It just blows my mind.
It's fantasy football.
I'll also say it's crazy that we've only had 3 weeks of fantasy football, and there are 3 teams that I think are out of it already.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And I mean, is there anything he can do, or is he just kind of?
Nope.
He kind of is where he is. All right.
Just keep. Don't do anything crazy and trade your keepers away. Just fork up the $150 for next year too.
Winier is our final team here at 0-4. I have on my notes Ick. This team, I have no idea. I don't know what's wrong with this team. I really don't. I try to find something. I don't even know what to do. It's a team that you look up and down at, you think, wow, this is a pretty solid team. Like, I don't know. You know, Colston's not working out, I guess, but he's got Welker he can plug in. I mean, he's got Kendall Wright down there who's a pretty solid. Like, I don't know what to do with this team. Anthony, is there any encouraging words you can give Andy on this?
I've tried. I'm with you, man. Like, you look up and down, and the names are great. The names are great. But then you look at the average score, and it's awful. There's not a only his defense and quarterback have had an average score over 10 points. You can't win that way. It's got to turn around. It's going to turn around for Winier this season because LaShawn McCoy is not going to continue to be one of the worst. It's just not going to happen. But I fear that when it does turn around, it'll be too late.
Okay. Nick.
I'm looking at something real quick.
Right, well, we're on a podcast here, so if you could hurry up and look at that, and then
I think his biggest problem is just the quarterback play. Is the state of the quarterback. Again, coming back to the state of the quarterback play. Romo hasn't done what he thought what he wanted him to do. McCoy, and I think that's kind of the biggest thing is because I think that he's putting up decent numbers if his quarterback puts up because we're such a heavy quarterback league where
his quarterback is better than your quarterback.
I know,
and he's losing.
Well, that's because I'm still a better owner than he is.
Oh,
whoa!
Shots fired.
Whoa!
Kaepernick has gone 21, 11, and 21, and 11 sucks, but that's not the worst. I mean, Brady broke 20 yet this season?
Brady hasn't broken 15 yet this season, I don't think.
So I'll take 21 points every week for Michael. If you can guarantee me 21 points, I'll take it every week.
I don't even think that it's a question of like bad fantasy luck per se. Like it's any team's going to hit, and any team's going to start sinking, is hitting its stride real quick. And I think that his team, when it does, will be dangerous. And there's no one on this team that I'm just going to write off and say, this is a bad team. I think Andy's team is good, and once it starts to get good, it's going to be it's going to get the ball rolling. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, he could go on a late season run and be spoiler for sure.
His run could start this week, and he could suddenly be a powerhouse.
Yeah, he could. He could make a comeback here. Yeah, 9-7 could get you in, So he's got 3 losses to play with, and people have made runs like that before. So, all right, let's get to our power rankings, guys, and then we'll close things out. We won't do predictions because it's doubleheader week, and we're trying to keep this short and watch the game here. So 12-7 here. And I'll go ahead and start since I don't think I'd only go first, so I'll start out. I'm going to go PBJ to start just because, again, this team is just decimated. I'm going to do 11, Winier. 10, we've got Hillers. I think he got a lot weaker this week. 9, I've got the Assassins.
What?
At 8, I've got Chupanibres, and I'm not sure why I have the Chupanibres at 8, but I don't know. I've got to see it. I've got to see it consistently first, and I haven't seen it. At 7, I've got TDJ because again, that team does scare me. I mean, they've got the stars, they can put up the points, and they've had success before. So a lot of that's historical. So that's what I got. Anthony, why don't you go next?
Sure. TDJ time at 12. I can't believe you put Assassins at 9. I have them at 11. Winier 10. TDJ is number 9. They took a big fall for me. Number 8 is the Iron Pirates Miscreant Crew.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, but that's where I had you last year, too. Or last week, too. Black Widows at 7.
Wow. Okay.
All right.
Brett's the universal worst team right now. Winier is at 11. Despite me saying that, like, it's who would I rather play this week, and his team's not firing yet. So for the Winiers, the Assassins, Hillers, Duplex, and Dad Dicks.
What?
But again, I think after. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, Nick put these together about 3 minutes before the podcast started because he was like a last-minute host, so he wasn't ready. He didn't do a lot of preparation here, so we appreciate you stepping in here, Nick, and I know you didn't have a ton of time to do your power rankings here. So. But hey, man, those are power rankings.
Full disclosure, I wanted to name myself in the top 6, so that may be why Dad Dicks is in the top 6. In the
There
bottom
you go.
6.
See, he's showing confidence in himself.
All right. Let's finish it up.
No, and I'm not clubbing Nick. I'm saying that because he just said, well, now looking at that might not be the way to go because, he's like that's why I said that because he didn't get a ton of time to do it. So, all right, 6, I've got the Duplex of mediocrity right in the middle, of course. At 5, I've got the Dad Dicks. They've been good so far, but I'm not totally buying yet. But still a playoff team at 5. At 4, I've got Iron Pirate Redux. Nick, I think you've got a really good team and what he's talking about. And at 3, for some reason, I have my team, Black Widows, showing weird confidence in my team. And at 2, I've got Sex Cannons, Evan, and at 1, I've got EBS.
Oh,
Interesting. Yeah. I don't know how you snuck down there, but all right.
I don't either. Hey, man, 3 and 1.
Yeah, I guess so. So number 6, I have Hillers. Number 5, I have the Duplex. 4, I have the Chooks. 3, I have Enzo Bombardment Squad. Deuce, I got the Sex Cannons. And 1, again, I have Dad Dicks.
At 1. And Nick's got him at 7. Wow. And
right.
Alfred Morris right now is running wild on the Giants. I just want you guys to know that. So,
Anthony.
Yeah.
Was part of your deal with Hillers to put him in the top 6?
Yeah, that was surprising to me.
Well, I mean, he's got the... No, we don't have to go back to Hiller's team, but it's falling. Trust me, 6 is the highest it might be for some time now.
Iron Pirates at 6. TDJ at 5. I think he's gonna turn around. Shoop at 4. Black Widow at 3. Evan at 2. And no, yeah, actually Evan at 2 and Anthony at 1 because of the trade. I need to.
Ours are very similar, Nick. Our rankings are very similar. Yeah. Okay. Well, that sums it up, guys. Let's close it out here. This will be our first one in under an hour, I think, right? And yeah. So that's it. Any final thoughts? Anything we want to say? We good?
Well, thanks, man. Everything has been great. It's good seeing you.
Destiny.
Yeah. So thanks. I feel rushed, but yeah, let's close it out here. We'll get it published, and let's watch the Giants. Go G-Men.
G-Men, baby.
Cheers, guys.
All right. Take it easy.